Good evening. It's Rev.Stephanie Denise. I'm coming to you. And tonight we're still on our series. We're in the third installment of the series, Shifting from Surviving to Thriving. Again, we're in the third lesson of the series, Shifting from Surviving to Thriving. I hope that you are doing well tonight. Because we've been in the series for 2 previous weeks, tonight we're going to shift a little bit and we're going to really look at cultivating inner peace and well-being. Because when we're talking about shifting from surviving to thriving, we definitely have to cultivate inner peace so that we can have well-being. And once we have that well-being, we can definitely soar to our place of thriving. Again, this is Rev.Stephanie Denise. I'm so excited to be with you for the third in the series. And this is the final one in this particular series. Thank you for those of you who have been with us for the last 2 weeks. And if you have not seen the previous 2, you can definitely go to the YouTube site, Rev.Stephanie Denise, and you can check out those 2 there on the website, on the YouTube. And I think they're also on the website, which is Rev.StephanieDenise.com. All right, go ahead and type in the chat where you're coming from tonight. I am here in Northern California. The weather is absolutely beautiful. I'm about 15 minutes outside of Napa, where they have world-class wineries and vineyards. And so I just love actually where we live. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington, but I've been in California for more than 30 years. Northern California, that is. All right. Good evening. Good evening. So excited to have you here with us tonight. All right, so we're gonna get started. Again, I'm Rev.Stephanie Denise. Just a little bit about me. I am a twin mom and an author. I also am a retired school teacher. I have a Bachelor's of Arts degree in Liberal Studies and a minor in African American Studies, a multiple subject teaching credential. I taught school for more than 25 years. 3rd and 5th grade were my favorites. I have a Master's of Divinity from Pacific School of Religion, which is in Berkeley, California, right behind Cal Berkeley. And I'm currently working on a Doctor of Ministry, and I have completed all of my coursework, but I still need to complete the dissertation. So I'm in progress. And the area is God in Public Spaces, which is public theology. So I'm so excited to be here again. I'm Rev.Stephanie Denise. I'm also an author of a book, 21 Days of Faith, Finding Your Purpose. I wrote that in 2022. And so that can be found on Amazon. Well, tonight I want to talk about shifting, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, there we go. There we go. Shifting from surviving to thriving, cultivating inner peace and well-being. And we just talked about education. So when we're talking about shifting, of course, it is a journey of transformation. And this journey requires some intentional mindset shifts, right? It also requires some actionable steps. Actionable steps require a personal commitment to self-care, right? So part of moving to the place of thriving means that you're going to have to take some action. And I know that you can do it. And also, it also requires embracing growth while you're shifting your perspective from seeing the challenges that are right there with you and around you, and moving those challenges to opportunities for growth and opportunities for learning, right? And embracing and practicing gratitude every single day, right? Having a grateful heart, a grateful mind, a grateful soul, really facilitates shifting from survival to thriving. And then last, we'll look at setting empowerment goals for yourself so that you can celebrate each and every milestone. And I always talk about, in the last few weeks, we've really talked about certain challenges that we face, whether it be loss of a parent, loss of a spouse, empty nest, children moving on, moving out, growing up, becoming independent, divorce, right? Career burnout. So those are the areas that we've looked at over the last couple of weeks. Again, you can go back to my YouTube, Rev.Stephanie Denise, and you can check out those webinars. But those things put us in a tailspin and cause us to become very stressed, right? And put us in survival mode. And so we have to figure out, what can we do today to get out of that mode? I'm going to show this little chart, right? So survival mode. When we're in the midst of what we're going through, it feels like sometimes like we can't breathe. It feels like we're sweaty, we're clammy. It feels like the world is closing in on us. And all of those feelings are real and true. They're not made up, right? The body is amazing. And so we have to work with our body so that we can move out of survival mode. When we're in survival mode, the endocrine glands, which are major to your body, right, have and house major hormones. And so we have the hypothalamus, which that is very important because that controls the pituitary gland. We have the pituitary gland, which is a master gland, and that secretes hormones that control the other glands, right? So this kind of all works together. Then we have the adrenal glands. Those produce testosterone in small amounts, and that helps also with sexual response. Then, of course, we have the ovaries, which produce estrogen that controls menstruation, and progesterone that supports pregnancy. Let me stop there. Many of us are women of a certain age. So you may be menopausal or you may be perimenopausal. And now findings are telling us that we can be in perimenopause for 10, 15 years even, right? Which is a long time. So, and as you know, if you are in that state, I've been perimenopausal now for, I think, 6 years. When you are in that state, your hormones are all out of whack, all out of control, right? And so they say that diet can help it, exercise can help it, but what you're feeling is real. So if you have life changes on top of being perimenopausal, then your hormones need to readjust. And so being able to understand the endocrine system and how these glands work together and work in conjunction with your hormones and how you feel is very important. Other endocrine glands are the pineal gland, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, and pancreas. Okay, so why are we even talking about this? Because stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline affect our well-being. When we're going through, if our hormones are in stress mode, then we're not going to feel well. Anxiety, depression, angst, right? We don't want that. We want to, if we're going to move to thriving, we have to come to a place of well-being. Understanding their impact is crucial for inner peace. So important for us to be able to experience and feel that inner peace. Okay. Effects of stress hormones. So we can look at this chart here, right? When you have stress in the body, then you have increased risk of disease, right? Dis-ease. The body is not at ease, right? And so when we're in survival mode, that's what we're feeling. Our body is dis-eased. It is not in ease at all, right? So stress increases our heart rate and our blood pressure, right? So you know that if you were to go to the doctor and the doctor was to take your blood pressure and you were in a place of stress due to job loss, job or career burnout, loss of a spouse, loss of a family member, a parent, an aging parent, dealing with young adult children, any of those things, right? And any other scenario that you can think of will cause your blood pressure to rise. And so if you are in the midst of those life changes and you go to the doctor, it's 9 times out of 10, or I'd say 8 out of 10, you may have elevated blood pressure. That's not well-being. That's not a place of thriving. So that's why we have to understand how stress is affecting our body and how stress gives us feelings of survival. So the impact of stress hormones on our immune system, it actually causes cortisol. And the buildup of cortisol suppresses our immune system. So have you ever found that, well, let me just give an example. I was in the midst of a divorce, just recently divorced. I was in the midst of a divorce. My children, I had just become an empty nester. My children were at school, at college, away, and they were having their own challenges with trying to get acclimated and understand the nuances of having roommates and all of that. So, and my father had just passed. So in the midst of all of that, trying to juggle everything, my immunity was down because I was not sleeping properly. I was not eating properly. I was worried. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear of the unknown, a lot of uncertainty because so many life changes had hit me all at once within a 6-month period. And so my immune system was down and I actually got COVID. I had come through all of this time without COVID. And then in 2020, I want to say 2023, I got COVID. And I was down. I was down for a long time, right? So stress affects our bodies in different ways. Also, there's a disturbance of the digestive system. I have what I call a cortisol belly, you know, and it's actually is not a funny thing, but it's something that I've come to grips with. So if we do not process our stress in the right way, that stress will show up in different ways. If you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling trapped, if you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling anxiety constantly, if you're feeling doom, if you're feeling gloom, right? All of that is a product of stress and the opposite of well-being, right? So I have a tendency to be very calm and I'm able to handle situations. I'm like that swan or that duck that's floating along the water, but you can't see underneath the water those legs just paddling, 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 right? And so I have a tendency to be like that. And so where does that cortisol show up? It shows up in my belly, right? It has to show up somewhere. And so we want to move from being stressed. Dr. Sarah Johnson is a neuroscientist who has done a lot of work in this area. Excuse me. Chronic stress weakens our immune system. It can even lead to mental health issues, right? People say, are you crazy? Well, maybe, right? We all have a little brand of crazy. But we have to be able to let go of some of that stress so that we can have a clear mind, so we can have clarity and be able to move forward. This is just a little picture, right? The effects of stress hormones. I want you to take a moment and think about 3 major stressors that you're experiencing right now. 3, right? Some examples: career burnout, divorce, death of a spouse, a parent, excuse me, a child, a teen, or adult children, and you're now an empty nester. Maybe those stressors aren't on this list, but just take a moment and think about it. If you have a notebook, you can jot them down, because the idea is that we know what mode you're in currently. And the idea is for you to identify what those stressors are, and then to move from those stressors to ways to deal with them, and then ways to move into a more well-suited place, which we call managing stress. Managing stress and promoting inner peace is so crucial and so key. There are things that you can do to manage your stress. I love yoga. That's one of the things that helped me after my father passed. I needed something, some way to release all of those emotions. And so you can read or reach out to local yoga instructors. Lisa Smith is a yoga instructor that has expert insight. Also, there's many techniques like mindfulness, meditation, deep breathing that reduce our stress levels. So you, wherever you are, in the midst of whatever you're going through, you can take a moment. You can close your eyes. You don't even have to close your eyes, and you can take a deep breath. And you can let out some of that stress. Deep breathing is great. You can take fire breaths, which are breaths like breathing like a dragon, right? 50 fire breaths. Excellent technique, right? We can also sit in contemplation. We can pray. Prayer can help you to become introspective. And instead of focusing on what you see, you can focus on the unseen. And prayer will help you to believe in a better situation. And believing in the unseen creates better outcomes, right? So if everything is chaotic and falling apart around you, when you're able to sit and contemplate and pray, that shifts the atmosphere. That shifts what you're going through, because it helps you to be able to be steadfast. Okay? Inner peace helps us to quietly connect, core connect. That's within, right? So we want to look within. When we're in survival mode, it's because there's so much going on outside of us, right? So this is a time when we have to look in. We have to look inside. We have to find peace within us. right? And finding that peace within us helps us to connect. And it helps us connect to that intuition, that inner knowing that can serve as a guide, right? It's guidance for us. And that's what we need. When we're in survival mode, we need to be able to connect, reconnect to that within us, in our core, in our inner being. And that's how we'll be able to move forward. These are some resources of books, right? So some things that you could do that you can start with right now. Right now, you can start with practicing, again, deep breathing, 5 minutes a day. Again, some of these books here, 3 steps to reduce anxiety with mindfulness, right? Eliminating those negative thoughts. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about, right? If we're thinking doom and gloom, we're probably going to get doom and gloom. But if we're thinking hope and light, and if we're thinking about gratitude, grateful for the things that we have, thankful for the things we've come through, thankful for the people around us, thank you for the job that we have, thank you for our home. Having gratitude is another way to eliminate the negative thoughts, to relieve stress, to relieve worry, to relieve anxiety, right? Because that's what we need. We need to ease this pressure, right? The cortisol is building. And as that cortisol builds, the stress builds. So we want to reduce those cortisol levels. We want to reduce that blood pressure. We want to reduce the heart rate, right? We want to be in a place of peace, right? Reducing anxiety of persons practicing pastoral care. Just another resource. Benefits. Benefits of deep breathing. Benefits of prayer. Improved focus, reduced anxiety, enhanced well-being, right? That's what we want. We want to be well. We want to be well, right? People say, how are you? We want to say well and mean it, right? Again, I talked about beginning a daily prayer routine, right? And being grateful in your prayer routine, being grateful and having gratitude for what God has done. And having a prayer routine has many benefits. It fosters a sense of connection. It reduces feelings of anxiety. It reduces feelings of isolation and fear, right? Just knowing that there is, whether you're a person of faith or not, just knowing the universe, God, however you think of that, there's something there greater than you, and you're not alone, right? Creator, spirit, love, greater than you, and you're not alone. And that's a beautiful feeling. Books on reducing anxiety and well-being, as we talked about, here are just a few, but there's so many. You can, of course, go to your local library. I love the library, right? Go to your local library, look online, and definitely there are resources. Real-time tips. So, I don't know if let me move this. Marie Kondo. I love Marie Kondo. There are on Netflix, there are some Marie Kondo specials, as well as things about decluttering, right? And when you're in survival mode, it's really interesting. If you take the time to declutter, it will make an improvement in your mindset and your environment, right? So taking some time to declutter, right? This is real-time steps. We want to move from surviving to thriving. And so we have to look at what are some real-time steps, some things that we can actually do. So decluttering your mind and your environment. So important, right? So important. Can you go through your closet, right? Even though things are falling apart around you and you may not even want to get up out of bed, but with the door closed to your bedroom because you're blocking out the rest of the world, could you just take a couple of steps and go to your drawers and maybe organize your sock drawer? Or maybe pull out all the socks that don't have a match, or go to your t-shirt drawer and fold all of your t-shirts and put them organized neatly by color. And remove the ones that you don't want anymore or that you're not using anymore. Marie even goes a step further because she says, take a moment and with each piece of clothing or with each item or object, thank it. Thank it for the service. Thank it for the time it provided for you. And then bless it. Bless it with love, right? And release it. And so I thought about how powerful is that, right? She's doing that with items in homes. But imagine if we did that with situations in our life, right? I talked about going through a divorce recently, within this, it was a 2-year process. But what about if you're going through a divorce, you thank God or be thankful, thank the universe for the time that you had with that person, or for the good times you had for that person, or for the beautiful children that you have with that person. And say, but now it's time for me to release this. I let it go. I release it with love. Imagine that. That will shift everything. That will shift everything. That will shift your mind. That will shift your environment. We have to be grateful for the good times that we had. And then we have to know how to release those situations. Because if we continue to talk about the hurt that they cause, that just perpetuates it. That just builds cortisol levels. That just builds stress. That just leads towards mental health issues. So we have to think about how can we release and bless with love. Again, Marie Kondo, organizing consultant. But imagine if we can take some of her tips and organize our life, not just our things, but our life, our mindset. Mental clutter can cloud our thoughts, right? Decluttering promotes clarity and peace. And when we're talking about moving from surviving to thriving, that's what we want. We want to have peace. We want to be clear on what our next steps are. Because in a sense, this is the time that we're going to look at to possibly reinvent our lives, right? If we're an empty nester, now we have lots of time, right? If you're an empty nester, you have lots of time. I'm recently an empty nester. And so one of the things that I took on immediately was teaching a women's group. For the last 20 years, off and on, I've led and taught women's groups, right? And that is so exciting because not only do I get to teach, but I also get to learn from the students that are in my class, right? So when you have more time, what could you do to be a lifelong learner? What could you do to help yourself grow, right? In some of the other series, the 2 sessions that we had before, we talked about being empowered and using entrepreneurship as a way to be empowered. What about if you had a hobby? What about if you had something that you loved and you were able to spend more time doing that? But kind of back to the decluttering. When we create a more calming environment, it improves our overall mood. And when we feel good, then that helps our vibration to rise, right? I talked about the stress and being hard on our immune systems, right? But if we have high vibration, then we're not going to be sick as often. We're not going to be down in the dumps, and our creativity rises. And so when our creativity rises, then we also could see, how can we pour into others? How can we be a blessing? Studies have shown that women who felt their homes were in order, right? So their living environment, right? So maybe the head space is not in order because there's so many thoughts, there's so much going on. But studies have shown that women who felt their homes were in order had lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol. Wow. And look, if you're an empty nester, that may be a little bit stressful, but think about the opportunities. Think about how you can design your home, and it can be clutter-free, and it could be a space that enhances your vibration, right? I'm smiling because I got that opportunity. I moved out of the family home, turned it into an Airbnb, bought a smaller house, just a 3-bedroom home, a simple ranch home, right? Unlike the Tudor home that the family lived in, with, all that comes with an older house, the beauty and the work. Right. And my children were away at school. My daughter was a sophomore and going into her sophomore year, and the twins were going into their freshman year. And so while they were away at school, over Christmas break, I moved into the new house, and I had a fresh, clean start. And that increased my mood, it increased my attitude, and yet I was going through a divorce. It made it all manageable and doable. So sometimes we just have to declutter our space or change our environment so that we can lower those stress hormone levels. So, what else can you do? Start now. You got to journal. Are you journaling? Are you taking notes today? Journaling is so important. You can actually even start a gratitude journal. Being grateful. Before you go to bed, at least 3 things that you're grateful for. When you wake up in the morning, at least 3 things that you're grateful for. And when you are grateful, gratitude grows, right? Gratitude has a way of moving those negative situations and circumstance out the way, right? So journal your thoughts, declutter your mind. So take those things out of your mind, put them on paper. Take those things out of your mind and put them on paper. Very, very important. When you're able to journal, it helps. It helps, right? And you can just put whatever your thoughts are, just put them out there. So, so important. I want to go back before I move to the next slide. I'm going to stop screen share for a moment. Okay. There we go. So I've been doing a lot of talking, but I wanted to talk to you just a couple of things I really want to touch on that we've touched on in the last couple of weeks, but still important. This is a time of transition, right? This is a time of reinventing yourself. This is a time of actually moving to thriving, and you can do it. You have everything that you need within you, everything that you need within you. So I need you to know that, believe that. I believe it because I have seen women be so resilient, more resilient than they could even think. But what happened? They shifted their mind, right? The other thing you got to move, right? So move your body, right? We talked about yoga, walking, running, working out. Find an activity that you like to do. Find something that you know that you can do no matter what. It might be, laying out your workout clothes before you go to bed at night, your sneakers, your socks, and being able to, as soon as you wake up in the morning, thank God for a new day, hop up out of bed, put on your sneakers, put on your workout clothes, and head out the door, right? Grab your keys and head out the door for a walk, right? Communing in nature is so, so powerful and so good, right? For your mental health, for your clarity, right? For your well-being. So, maybe walking is not your thing. I said I love yoga, right? That's what got me through, because yoga stretches you, moves you in ways that you wouldn't even try to move yourself into, right? But everyone is different. Find the thing that will move you, because we're talking about your next phase of life. We want you to thrive in this next phase of life, right? We want these next years to be even better and greater than the years that preceded it, right? Because these are our wisdom years. These are our years when we can be a gift to so many. We can be a gift to our adult children, if you have children, adult nieces and nephews, if you have those. To the community, right? There's so many in the community who need what you have to share, right? And so I just really wanted to talk about that, because when we're reinventing ourselves, we have to remember that we've been in roles that may have been all consuming. If you were a caregiver to an aging parent, that's all consuming. If you were a mother to a young child who grew into adulthood, who is now an adult, that was all consuming. If you were in a marriage, a spouse can be all consuming, right? So if you are in a career where they did not respect you or really give you the credit that you deserved, that can be all consuming, right? So these are all things that are stressors. And so we have to figure out, how can we reinvent ourselves in the midst of these stressors? The other thing that happens is identity crisis, right? Many times we've been so used to being someone's mother or someone's wife or some spouse or someone's daughter, someone's best friend, the go-to person at work, whatever the case may be. And so now we find ourselves in a new season. And in this new season, there's a struggle. And that struggle brings on stress as well. And that struggle is with our identity. Who are we in this season? Right? So just a couple of things to think about. Who are you in this season? Take a moment and write down 3 things you would like to happen. 3 things that you would like to happen. Or you could put it in the chat. All right. Good. Excellent. 3 things you would like to happen. Walk daily. Okay. Right? What are you eating? We haven't even talked about health or diet, right? Eat better, definitely. Right, because that's a part of it too. What are you eating? What are you putting into your body? Are you eating green foods? Are you eating nutrient-rich meals? Right? Are you drinking your water? I'm going to share my screen. All right. So again, journal your thoughts to help declutter your mind. Right? Increased mental clarity. That's a benefit, right? That's a benefit from journaling. Reduce stress, improve decision making. You may have some huge decisions to make right now. As I spoke earlier, my father died. He had cancer. He went through treatment. He was in remission, doing better. And then he had a blood clot and he died immediately, right? So no one knew he had this blood clot. We thought that everything was going to be fine, and it wasn't. So immediately I had to be there for my mother, with my mother, and make a lot of decisions um, that I hadn't had to make before, right? And so this is the time you got through whatever that stressful situation was. You got through the worst of it. So now you're setting up your life for a successful future. You're setting up your life. You're coming out of whatever the worst case scenario was, it happened. And you're still here. You're still here. That almost brings tears to my eyes because we're still here. So think about how you can structure this next season for success. You already know what it is to survive. You've been in survival mode. Now it's time to have mental clarity, right? Because when we're in that survival mode, sometimes we're just doing, we're just acting, we're just doing the next thing that we know how to do, right? Not necessarily with clarity. We're sometimes dazed and in a fog, but we know that we got to get it done, right? But now you get to sit back, you get to meditate, you get to pray, you get to breathe, you get to reduce those stress levels. You get to improve on your decision making. That's exciting. All right. So I have a book. It's called 21 Days of Faith. This is the book right here. 21 Days of Faith, Finding Your Purpose. I wrote this book in I want to say it was published in 2022. So I wrote it in 2020, 2021, right? And so it's really just 21 days. There's scripture in it, there's a question. Every section of the book starts with a question. And it's a great book to go through consistently for 21 days. It will not take you long. But if you answer the questions that each chapter starts with, if you read the story that goes with it, and if you put some actionable steps into each day for 21 days, you will see a huge difference. And it's 21 days of practice, right? Because you're doing these activities for 21 days. They're not long, but it's all about finding your purpose. I didn't know that I was going to be in a season of having to find my purpose. I thought I was doing really well. Why? Because we had come through COVID. We had employees. We didn't have to lay off any of our employees during COVID. The kids, they got their licenses during COVID. They got cars during COVID, right? Everything. My husband and I, at the time, our business was flourishing during COVID. I had gotten a real estate license and I had moved from just being an investor to actually being a realtor, helping helping families who wanted to upgrade, helping families who wanted to downsize, helping families who wanted to relocate. And so it was just an outstanding time. I had no idea what was to come, none. And so I'm grateful for 21 Days of Faith, Finding Your Purpose, because I had found my purpose within that time. And my purpose really is just sharing, teaching others, right? And being a lifelong learner. And so that's why I'm here today, because I know that I've been called to teach. I've always taught. I taught elementary school, right? And I've always led women's groups. And so this is just another extension of that, because there's a lot of us who are in a new season that we did not see coming, but yet and still here we are. And we don't have to go quietly off into the night. No, we can have our best years ever. Why? Because we're wiser. We're smarter, we're stronger. Many of us have better finances, or better financial footing than we had in our younger years, right? And these are our wisdom years. I said it before. So this is on Amazon, 21 Days of Faith. Check it out. You can also order it from my website, Rev.Stephanie Denise.com. It's an insightful guide to discovering purpose and inner peace. That's what we want, inner peace, no matter what's going on around us, right? Benefits, practical exercises to cultivate faith and purpose. There's some inspirational stories to motivate and uplift. There's questions to answer and work through, as I said before. There's some scripture to complement the lessons. All right. And what I'm so excited about in these last few minutes that we have, that I want to mention, is that I have a master class. And this master class is called Shifting Mindset and Discovering Purpose. Why? Because you have purpose. You have something great that you are called to do. And you have to shift your mindset so that you can walk into that greatness that you've been designed for, right? Yes, the divorce happened. Yes, you've lost a parent or parents. That's one of the hardest things to have to go through, right? Yes, things are different than they have been. Yes, that job doesn't appreciate you the way that they should. But you know what? There's more. Maybe you're being called to entrepreneurship. Maybe you're being called to mentorship, right? Maybe you're being called to a whole new career. Maybe you're being called to use all of those skills that you've learned to put those into a viable business, consulting, right? Only you know. But this is the time to quiet your mind. This is the time to relax in deep breaths. This is the time to pray. This is the time to meditate. This is the time to walk. This is the time to exercise. This is the time to eat right. This is the time to eat nutrient-rich foods. This is the time to drink your water. This is your time. This is your season. So if you don't think that you can do this by yourself, then that's why I'm here. And I have a master class. It will be 7 weeks. It's starting July 27th. We meet 9 to 10 on Zoom. And this is what we'll be doing. Moving you from where you are to the next step. Moving you from where you are to the next goal, to the next goal, to the next goal, to the next goal, right? That's my job, to help you as you become stronger, as you become more motivated, as you become more able to clearly see the greatness that's within you, right? So it's $397. It's really deepening your journey and inner peace and giving you guidance giving you support for a lasting transformation, not just to change you for a day, but to change you for a lifetime, so that you will have inner peace, and no matter what happens around you, you will still be able to walk in your greatness. So, conclusion, it is time. It's time for you to move from shifting, or I should say it's time for you to shift from surviving to thriving. You can do it, right? Cultivating your inner peace, that's going to require some understanding. You have to understand, what are your stressors, right? Understanding stress hormones. That means, what are your stressors? What are those triggers? What are those things that have been triggering you, right? Once you can get a hold of those stressors, identify them, then you can start actionable steps. Those steps that will help you now, today, to help you to have a more peaceful life, a more fulfilling life, right? Believe in yourself. I believe in you. I know you can do it. Why? Because I've been right where you are. I know what it is to feel like you are in a box and the walls are closing in on you. I know what it is to lose a parent suddenly and not be ready for it. I know what it is to lose a marriage and not be ready for it. I know what it is to become an empty nester, and not, especially when your identity is in being a mother, being a wife, being a daughter. So I know what it is also to have career burnout, right? I talked about being a realtor, but yet I had been a school teacher for 25 plus years, right? So I know what it is to thrive and to do well and to come out of all of those states with a positive mindset, with a mindset that allows you to reach higher goals, to tap into the greatness that is in you. So now take actionable steps for a more peaceful and fulfilling life. Journal. Your gratitude journal is important. Your exercise is important. Believe in yourself. Declutter. 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 Start with your desk. Start with something small, right? Declutter and de-stress so that you can truly shine, so you can truly thrive in all aspects of your life, in each and every one. Thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you for being with us tonight. Definitely you can follow me on social media at Rev.Stephanie Denise. I'm on Facebook as well. Again, Rev.Stephanie Denise, and I'm on LinkedIn. So definitely take the time, follow. I have a blog. I love to write. One of the things that I did as an educator was create curriculum. And so I love to write. If you just need to call, you can definitely call. You can reach out on Calendly. I have a Calendly. It's connected to my website. So definitely on Calendly, if you think you need a discovery call and you want to chat for a 30-minute discovery call, we can do that, right? That's free of charge. And then you can see if, hey, maybe coaching might be a way that you like to go. And then you can sign up for our master class, which is $397. All right. Again, thank you. Follow us on social media. And if you see my YouTube videos, because we have YouTube as well, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thank you.